The night the Alpha King returned, Ilara was already bleeding. Not the kind anyone noticed, not the dramatic kind sung about in pack legends, but the quiet, hidden kind that soaked into sleeves and stayed silent. The kind Omegas learned to live with. She kept her head down, her breath shallow, her pain folded neatly inside her chest as she crossed the great hall, praying to be invisible. Then the doors opened. Power swept through the room like a storm held barely in check. Wolves bowed, warriors froze. The Alpha King of all territories stepped inside, his presence heavy enough to make hearts pound and instincts kneel. Ilara felt it hit her like a blow. Her vision blurred. The world tilted. The tray slipped from her hands. She never reached the floor. Strong arms caught her mid-fall, iron-hard and burning warm, pulling her against a chest that radiated command and danger. Gasps echoed through the hall, because the Alpha King himself had caught an Omega. As Ilara struggled to breathe, her sleeve slid back, revealing bruises too old, too deep, too deliberate to ignore. The Alpha's grip tightened, not in anger, but restraint. The room went deathly silent. And then the most feared wolf alive lowered his voice and asked a single question that would shatter the pack forever. Who hurt you? The night the Alpha King returned, the moon hung low and red, like it already knew blood would be remembered. Everyone in the great hall of Silverpine Pack stood straight, backed and silent. Even the elders, bent with age and power, kept their eyes lowered. When Alpha King Kale Nightfang entered, the air itself seemed to bow. His presence was not loud, no shouting, no forced dominance, but heavy, ancient, final. The kind of power that had been earned through war, loss, and survival. And I was not supposed to be here. Ilara Vale, that was my name. An Omega with no rank, no family worth mentioning, and certainly no right to stand in the Alpha's path. I had been sent only to deliver fresh linens to the upper wing, nothing more. But fate, cruel and curious, had other plans. I felt it before I saw him, the bond pressure, the instinctive pull, the terrifying awareness that something far greater than me had entered the room. My breath shortened, my vision blurred. No, not now. I clutched the tray harder, my fingers trembling beneath the long sleeves that hid what I never let anyone see. Bruises, old and new, layered like ugly secrets across my skin. The hall spun. Move, Omega. Someone whispered sharply behind me. I tried, but my legs gave out. The world tilted, and then I was falling. A gasp rippled through the hall. I never hit the floor. Strong arms caught me mid-fall, solid as iron, warm as fire. The scent hit me instantly, pine smoke and winter steel, so powerful it made my wolf whimper inside my chest. Silence crashed down like thunder. Because the Alpha King himself had caught me, Kale Nightfang looked down at the girl in his arms with sharp silver eyes that had faced battlefields and beasts without fear. Yet now, something flickered in them, confusion first, then shock. His hand tightened reflexively around my waist to steady me. Easy, he said, voice low, controlled and dangerously close. I tried to pull away, panic flooding me. I'm sorry, my king. I didn't mean to. His gaze dropped to my wrist, where my sleeve had slid back, where purple and blue shadows marked skin that should never have been touched. The hall seemed to inhale as one. Kale's jaw hardened. Slowly, carefully, he adjusted his grip so I wouldn't fall, but his eyes never left the bruises. Then he did something no one expected. He lifted my wrist gently, not like an alpha claiming, not like a king commanding, but like a man seeing something broken. The temperature in the room dropped. Ooh, he said quietly, every word edged with lethal calm. Hurt you. My heart slammed against my ribs. I shook my head instantly. No one, please. I'm fine. Lies had kept me alive this long. But Kale Nightfang was not a man fooled by lies. His thumb brushed, barely, against one fading mark. The growl that rumbled from his chest was not loud. It was worse. It was restrained. Every warrior in the hall stiffened. The elders exchanged fearful glances. They had heard that sound before, right before war. Cal lifted his gaze to the room, his voice carrying cold authority. Clear the hall. No one argued. Within seconds, the vast chamber emptied, footsteps echoing as wolves fled from a storm they did not want to witness. I was left alone with the Alpha King. My knees buckled again, this time from fear. Cal adjusted his hold, supporting me effortlessly. You're gonna faint again if you keep fighting your own body, he said. I don't deserve your concern, my king, I whispered, that finally made him look at my face fully. Bruises healed, eyes tired beyond their years. A wolf that had learned to survive by shrinking. Something ancient shifted in him. "You deserve more than this," he said, not as a king but as a promise. And in that moment I didn't know what terrified me more, the fury burning behind his calm, or the impossible truth settling in my bones. That the Alpha King's attention had found me, and it would never let me go. The Alpha's command. When I woke, I expected pain. Instead, I found silk. Soft sheets brushed my skin, unfamiliar and far too luxurious for someone like me. The room smelled faintly of pine smoke and moonflower, his scent. My heart stuttered violently as memories rushed back. The hall, the fall, the arms that caught me. The question that still echoed in my ears. "Who hurt you?" I tried to sit up and winced. "Don't," a deep voice said from the shadows. I froze. Alpha King Kale Nightfang stepped into the moonlight spilling through the tall windows. He was no longer wearing his ceremonial cloak, only a dark shirt that clung to a warrior's frame built by war and command. His presence filled the room, pressing against my senses like gravity. "Why, you brought me here?" I asked, panic tightening my throat. "My chambers," he confirmed calmly. My breath hitched. "That's not allowed. Neither is abusing an Omega," he replied coldly. I looked away instantly. Silence stretched between us, thick and sharp. He crossed the room slowly, deliberately, like a predator who had already decided the outcome. He stopped beside the bed, not touching me, yet close enough that my wolf curled instinctively toward him. "Show me," he said. My fingers clenched the sheet. "I told you I'm fine." Cal's eyes hardened. That was not a request. Alpha command rolled through his words, not crushing, not violent, but undeniable. My wolf whimpered and submitted before my mind could fight it. With shaking hands, I pulled back the sleeve of my nightgown. The bruises were worse in the lamplight. Finger marks, old scars, healing wounds layered over older ones. Cal inhaled sharply. For a terrifying moment, I thought he might lose control. Instead, he turned away. The air cracked. The solid oak table across the room split down the middle, cleaved by a single strike of his fist. I flinched violently. Cal froze, then forced himself to breathe. He turned back, eyes glowing faintly silver, his wolf riding close to the surface. "I'm not angry at you," he said, voice rough. "Never at you?" I swallowed. "Please, if they know I told you, they," he repeated, deadly calm. The word unlocked something in me. "They said Omegas don't matter," I whispered. "That were pack resources. That no one would care." Cal knelt beside the bed, bringing himself level with me. An act that would shock the entire territory if they ever knew. "I care," he said simply. My control shattered. Tears spilled down my cheeks, silent and humiliating. I pressed my hand to my mouth, ashamed of my weakness. Cal reached out, slowly, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. His thumb brushed a tear from my cheek, reverent. "Tell me their names." I shook my head desperately. "If you punish them, they'll make it worse for the others." "Please, the others," he repeated again, fury sharpening. I nodded. "There are more of us." Cal's jaw tightened. "You are under my protection now," he said. I laughed weakly through tears. "Protection doesn't last for Omegas. It does when it comes from a king." He stood, already dangerous in his calm. "I will summon the council at dawn," Cal continued. "No one questions you. And if anyone disobeys," his smile was not kind, "they'll learn what it means to hurt what is mine." My heart stopped. "Mine?" I whispered. Kyle's eyes locked onto mine, something raw and conflicted burning there. "I don't know what you are to me yet," he admitted. "But I know this, your pain is now my responsibility." The bond pressure surged suddenly, sharp enough to steal my breath. My wolf cried out inside me, reaching. Kale stiffened. "You feel it too," he said quietly. I nodded, terrified. A bond with the Alpha King was impossible. Dangerous, deadly. And yet, as he turned toward the door, he paused. "Rest, Alara," he said, speaking my name like it mattered. "Tomorrow, everything changes." The door closed softly behind him. I lay back against the pillows, heart racing, knowing deep in my bones, the king had seen me, and he would never look away again. The council's silence. Dawn came with bells. Not the gentle kind that welcomed morning, but the iron ones, deep, commanding, impossible to ignore. Council bells meant judgment, law, and fate. From the moment they rang, the entire Silverpine territory knew something was wrong. I stood behind a carved screen in the council chamber, my hands trembling despite the thick cloak wrapped around me. The fabric bore the Alpha King's sigil, protection, and a target. Kale stood at the center of the chamber, tall and unyielding, his presence alone enough to make even the oldest elders uneasy. His expression was carved from stone. "Begin," he said. The elders took their seats slowly. High Elder Morvain cleared his throat. "You summoned us at dawn, my king. This better not be about a single Omega." The temperature dropped. Kale didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. "You will choose your next words carefully," he said. Morvain swallowed. "We mean no disrespect. But tradition has protected abusers." Kale cut in. A murmur rippled through the chamber. I flinched behind the screen. Kyle lifted a hand. "Bring her." My heart slammed against my ribs. The screen was drawn aside. Every eye turned to me. I had never been seen like this before. Not hidden, not bowed, not invisible. I forced myself to stand straight, though my knees threatened to collapse. Whispers hissed through the room. "Omega unmarked. Why is she here?" Kale stepped closer to me, not touching, but close enough that my wolf steadied. "Look at her," he commanded the council. "Really look." High Elder Morvain frowned. "She seems unharmed." Kyle's jaw tightened. "Remove the cloak," he said quietly to me. Fear surged through me. I looked up at him. His gaze was steady, unwavering, a silent promise. With shaking hands, I loosened the clasp. The cloak slipped from my shoulders. Gasps echoed. The bruises were still visible along my collarbone and arms, some yellowing, some fresh enough to darken the skin beneath. Silence fell like a blade. "These marks," Kale said, "were inflicted by pack members, repeatedly, over time." "That is a serious accusation," Morvain said sharply. "It's a fact," Cal replied. "And you knew." The elder's face flushed. "Omegas are disciplined differently." The sound Cal made was not human. A low, bone-deep growl that rattled the chamber walls. "You will never use that word again," Kale said, his voice shaking with restrained violence. "Not in my presence." Another elder leaned forward. "If we punish warriors for Omega discipline, we risk rebellion." Cal's smile was cold. "Then let them rebel." A collective intake of breath followed. Cal turned to me, then his voice softer. "Alara, tell them what happened." My throat closed. I shook my head. I can't." Cal faced the council again. "She owes you nothing," he said. "You owe her justice." He gestured sharply. Guards dragged 2 men forward. My blood turned to ice. I recognized them instantly. The pack enforcer, the steward, the ones who had taught me pain was obedience. I stumbled backward, heart pounding. Cal moved instantly, placing himself between me and them. "They hurt me," he said instead of me. "They hurt someone under my protection." Morvain stood. "You cannot execute them without your permission," Cal finished. His eyes glowed silver. "I am the Alpha King. I am the law." The bond pressure surged violently, so strong it nearly dropped me to my knees. Cal faltered, just for a second. He inhaled sharply, eyes flying to me. "You're feeling it too," he murmured. I nodded, terrified. A young council member whispered, "A royal bond." Panic flickered across the elders' faces. A bond like that changed everything. Cal straightened slowly. "Remove them from the territory," he ordered. "Strip them of rank. Exile them beyond the Black Ridge." The men screamed as guards dragged them away. The council erupted into chaos. Kyle raised his voice for the first time. "This pack will no longer survive on the suffering of its weakest," he declared. "Any who disagree are free to leave." Silence followed. No one moved. Cal turned to me as the chamber cleared, his expression unreadable. "You were brave," he said. "I was terrified," I whispered. He almost smiled. As we walked out together, the whispers followed us. "Bonded, Omega Queen, dangerous." At the door, Cal stopped. "This bond?" he said quietly. "It shouldn't exist," I replied. His gaze softened. "And it will put a target on your back. I've lived with that my whole life." His hand brushed mine just once. The spark was blinding. Cal sucked in a breath. "Stay close to me." Because outside the council chamber, shadows were already moving, and someone was planning to take me away from the Alpha King. Blood under moonlight. The first scream split the night like a blade. I was halfway down the eastern corridor, escorted by 2 guards, when the torches guttered all at once, flames bending as if something unseen had passed through them. My wolf went rigid. "Danger. Stay behind us," one guard ordered. I didn't get the chance. The wall exploded inward. Stone and dust tore through the air as a dark shape burst from the shadows, moving too fast to be human. One guard flew across the hall, hitting the wall with a sickening crack. The other barely had time to draw his blade before claws ripped it from his hand. I screamed. The attacker shifted midair. Half man, half wolf, eyes glowing red with madness. Traitors Omega, he snarled. The council should have killed you quietly. My legs locked. Then the corridor roared. Cal, he hit the assassin like a storm made flesh, slamming him into the ground hard enough to shatter stone. The Alpha King didn't fully shift, but his wolf was there, rippling beneath skin, eyes blazing silver. You touched what is mine, Cale growled. You die. The assassin laughed, blood bubbling at his lips. You think this is just me? Cale froze. I felt it too, the sudden tightening of the bond, sharp with warning. From the shadows, more figures emerged, 5, all wearing the marks of old warrior families. Council loyalists, wolves who believed power belonged only to the strong. Kyle positioned himself in front of me instinctively. Run, he ordered without looking back. I won't, I said, voice shaking but firm. He glanced at me sharply. Alara, I'm not leaving you. Something fierce lit in his eyes. Then don't look away. They attacked together. Steel rang against claws, stone cracked. Cale moved like a force of nature, precise, brutal, terrifyingly controlled. Every strike was lethal. Every growl echoed power that had made enemies kneel for decades. But there were too many. One slipped past him. Pain exploded across my shoulder as claws tore fabric and skin. I cried out, and the world napped. My wolf surged forward for the first time in my life. Not small, not weak, but blazing white with fire in her veins. Power erupted from me, raw and untrained, slamming into the attacker and throwing him across the corridor like a rag doll. Cale spun, shock flashing across his face. Alara, I stared at my hands glowing faintly with moonlight. I didn't know I could do that. I whispered. Cale smiled, wild and proud, even as blood streaked his jaw. Neither did they. The remaining attackers hesitated. That was their mistake. Cale finished it in seconds. Silence fell, broken only by heavy breathing. Blood pooled across the stone floor. I swayed, and Cale caught me instantly. Easy, he murmured, pressing his forehead to mine. I've got you. My shoulder burned, my head spun. Cale? I whispered. They said this wasn't just them. His expression darkened. I know. The bond thrummed painfully. Someone inside the council wants you gone, he said. And they'll keep trying. I swallowed hard. Then they'll have to go through me too. Cale stilled. Slowly, carefully, he cupped my face. You are far more than an Omega, he said. You always were. The moment stretched, dangerous, intimate, inevitable. Then horns blared in the distance. Reinforcements. Cale pulled back reluctantly. We can't hide this anymore, he said. Your power. Our bond. Fear twisted in my chest. What does that mean? Cale's voice was steady, but his eyes were storm dark. It means, he said, the crown won't survive if we pretend you're weak. Moonlight spilled through the shattered corridor, bathing us in silver and blood. And I realized something terrifying. They weren't just trying to kill me. They were afraid of what I could become.